So here we have our Play-Doh model of the brain. This dark blue part here is the cerebral cortex, which is the wrinkly layer of the brain, which is responsible for complex mental processes like thinking and planning. And then here, this teal kind of color is the brainstem, which begins the spinal cord and swells as it enters the skull. It is also the oldest part and central core of the brain, responsible for automatic survival functions. And then here, this kind of long orangey part, that's the medulla. It begins where the spinal cord enters the brain and is responsible for your heartbeat and breathing. And then where to go, this part here with the kind of plaid pattern is the reticular formation, and it's a finger-shaped network of neurons inside the brainstem and behind the ears that controls your sleep-wake cycle. And then this orange guy here is the pons, and it plays a key role in sleeping and dreaming, as well as respiration and breathing rates. And then we have the cerebellum, who's right here with the stripy pattern. And they're two rounded structures extending from the rear of the brain cell stem, and it controls voluntary movement. And then we also have the thalamus, which is there, this little guy, and he receives and organizes all sensory information besides small ones and relays it to the cortex.
The basal ganglia works with the cerebellum and cerebral cortex to control voluntary movement, especially for executing a skill pattern that requires very little thought. The hypothalamus, which is this lighter shade of purple, controls many motivated behaviors like eating, drinking, and sexual activities. It also controls autonomic functions like body temperature and heart rate, appetite drives, emotional states, and yeah. The pituitary gland, which is this piece right here, is a pea-sized gland right below the hypothalamus that controls growth and regulates other glands. The hippocampus, which is here, is involved in learning and storage of long-term memories. The amygdala, which is this piece over here, is the almond-shaped structure that influences aggression and fear, which coordinates the fight or flight response. It also is involved in emotional awareness and expression. The corpus callosum, which is right here, is the large band of neural fibers connecting the two brain hemispheres and carries messages between them. The frontal lobe, which is this piece right here, is involved in personality, intelligence, and the voluntary control of muscles.
So here we have the parietal lobe, which processes sensory information that has to do with taste, temperature, and touch. It is also involved in registering spatial formation, attention, and motor control. Here we have the motor cortex, which is located at the rear of the frontal lobe and controls voluntary movements. Here we have the somatosensory cortex, which is directly behind the motor cortex and detects and interprets information on touch, temperature, pain, and pressure, and allows us to perceive the size, shape, and texture of an object. And the occipital lobe, which is what I'm looking for. The occipital lobe processes and records visual stimuli, the aspects of color, shape, and motion. And then the temporal lobe, which is involved in hearing, language processing, and memory. And here we have Broca's area, which is involved in speech production. Damage to the area results in the ability to form grammatically complex sentences being impaired. And then we have Wernicke's area, which is involved in understanding spoken language. Individuals with damage to the area cannot comprehend words. They also produce incoherent sentences.